Yeah, so Hear My Music's really great. I've really been enjoying looking at it over the past few days and seeing what you do. I love all the outward facing stuff and the platform that you're providing for people with additional needs. For example, the Hear My Music TV YouTube channel, which has people displaying their growing skills and talents. It's really great, really positive stuff.
Yeah, I mean it's been very different over. We only started the YouTube channel during lockdown.
Right.
We didn't have that before. But yeah, it's been a very strange couple of months for us. As for everyone, you know.
Yeah, it's been weird, hasn't it, to be fair?
Yeah.
And quite an adjustment.
Yeah, very big adjustment. I mean, for absolutely everyone, but yeah, for our participants particularly, I would say.
Yeah. What are the origins of Hear My Music? Where did the idea stem from and initially?
So originally, I founded it, co-founded it with a colleague in 2010. And it was kind of, we saw a gap for this kind of participant-led music making that at the time we just kind of finished a community music masters, and we'd both been kind of doing this kind of similar work in schools, and you know, had designed a couple of inclusion projects that we just wanted to kind of run with. So that started. It's a small charity. It's been very small up until the last couple of years, and we're still small, but I've kind of got a couple of part-time staff as well, and also quite a lot more freelancers now. So we're doing more projects all over now.
Yeah, need to mobilize more people.
Yeah, which is good. How about you? Is it just you who runs your organization, or?
Yes, it's just me.
Okay.
I'm essentially freelance, and I'm independent also. I don't have any affiliations with other organizations, although of course I do work within other service providers, care homes, day services, and so on and so forth. So I do have quite strong community links. I don't really get involved so much these days. I have done a lot of community work in the past, but my practice at the moment isn't so much outward facing. It's more private, one-to-one or group therapeutic music sessions for people with additional needs. And that takes place, well, at the moment, it takes place here in my studio and nowhere else. But, you know, usually I'd be running around in the car, grabbing all my stuff and, you know, going off somewhere to provide some form of therapeutic music provision. But of course, at the moment, I'm in the studio and I'm using Skype to do sessions, and that's been a bit of an eye-opener. I've been pleasantly surprised actually by how well it's been working for some people, and I'd like to discuss that with you, the reasons perhaps why for some individuals this way of working seems to work. From your experience, why do you think that is for some individuals?
So we've had a very mixed response in the sort of immediate changing over. I think so. We have somewhere it's clearly suits them better, this kind of format, and I think a lot of it's anxiety based. There are less factors when you're online. There are less external factors, and it's easier to control things, I would say. And I mean, kids are used to looking at screens as well, so they're used to kind of having somebody on a screen. It's not probably as alien for them as it is for us, actually, just because of the generation they are. And I think sometimes having somebody from a screen tell you to do something is much less kind of anxiety inducing, particularly for people with a pathological demand avoidance profile, kind of that one step removed from a human saying do this. I think that really helps, actually.
Yeah, absolutely. It's almost I feel, because I was very conflicted about it, I was thinking, well, I think sometimes the idea of having a challenge variable in life is a good way to help us to become stronger and more equipped at dealing with the external world and all the unpredictability that comes with it. But then I thought, well, actually doing online work like this, especially with individuals who display anxiety and so on, it might it might act as a really good springboard for them to then participate in face-to-face sessions sometime in the near future. Like almost like online work is prepping them for the real world stuff.
Yeah, the value of being in a room with somebody, I think, still, even so for the kids who I think it's working really well to see them online, I would never do that only exclusively. I would maybe use it to kind of support in-person sessions, but yeah, I'm not kind of seeing anybody who I think, okay, we're gonna only do this.
Yeah.
I mean, there's an interesting accessibility issue with people who kind of have complex health needs and can't necessarily travel. So I think that's really for consistency, kind of as something else that you can do. And I hope that we all kind of learn from that to improve accessibility.
Point. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. That's a good outlook on it. I agree with all those points. I mean, so presumably you've been delivering online sessions recently, and how are they going? What's the general sense of the restrictions of this format, and how you've adapted to those so-called restrictions?
So I guess one of the main, there's two different groups I'm working with. One is our after school kids who I see in a different context from the people I see in school. And it's been quite different actually. So I know the after school kids very well, and I know how they are kind of, I know their families as well. So it's made it easier to transition to kind of working with them in their homes. One of the main restrictions is you can't play together. I mean, that's a massive thing. Like we've done a huge amount of work on group work, and so I'll work with somebody maybe one-to-one for a year or so, or longer, like whatever they need, and then work towards maybe working with one other person, a peer, and then working towards playing together. And music's always the catalyst for that. And I'm still seeing the groups online, but we're missing that really essential kind of
interactivity.
Being able to just play together. So I mean that's I guess that's
it's quite a big thing, isn't it?
But we're finding ways to get around it, like there's so much turn taking, and we're doing one line of something each, and we're all just getting used to that.
That's what I find. It amplifies the concept of turn taking because of the lag, if you like, in the audio and visual. You have to concentrate so much on the shared exchanges of behavior and the turn taking element. You've got to be really on the ball in a way. So maybe that's a good thing for the interactivity side of things. But I'm totally with you. So much, as I was saying to Beth and also Tom from Electric Umbrella, who I spoke to last week, so much is lost, with body language and other forms of the minutiae of communication, that it does become difficult. But for me, I mean, because I'm all about the process of music making and having that create opportunities for happiness and positive communication and interaction. I mean, that hasn't really changed for me. That's still my goal, to ensure that the individual is having a good time fundamentally and expressing themselves and comfortable and happy in the environment they're in, working closely with the support workers if they're available and family if they're available. But a lot of the variables haven't changed. I just had to tighten up the session in a sense. I've had to cut the fat off, because I can't, if I want to get something, I have to disappear off the screen. And that's not great for the flow of the session if I suddenly go somewhere to get something. So I try and keep things that I need close to me. And I try and also really concentrate on the content, i.e. what I'm doing, the structure, i.e. when I'm going to do it, the time, how long I'm going to do it for, and the place where I'm going to do it. So I'm always thinking about how to make things really organic and flow well, more so than if I was in a face-to-face meeting where things can be a bit more relaxed and a bit more spontaneous and a bit freer. So I'm finding that the rigidity of an online session is kind of disciplining me and helping me to streamline and cut the fat off my sessions. I don't know if that's something you've experienced.
I'm trying. In some senses, yes. I think in some senses, I'm having to use instructions more than I would have, because otherwise I would have just joined somebody musically and then, not needed to speak. Whereas now I need to possibly explain what I would like them to do. It's harder to just kind of be in the same space in someone in that musical sense. But yeah, in the sense of the session content, it's very, very similar to what we used to do. So. And all the after school classes, they're all very autism friendly. We're very regimented. We do certain things at certain times, and that's how we work.
You've got that continuity. That's important, isn't it?
Yeah, that's how we've done it for years. So
there we go, and so it continues.
But I mean, the setup, like I've kind of got how I want to be set up now. It took me a few weeks to kind of get used to that and get sorted, but that's okay. I've had some really interesting trying to get somebody to do something, like even just pick up a piece of we use a colored notation system called Figure Note, and I want them to pick up a specific piece of music and play it, and it would take a second in person, and you have to explain it and then hold it up to the screen, and then they'll hold it up to the screen for me, and I'm like, no,
So actually logistical things become a bit of a nightmare, don't they, in a way? Yeah, some of the more practical things become difficult, which can slow down the flow of the session and slow down the flow of interaction and the form of communication that we can involve ourselves in this strange way of working. That's really good. I'm glad that it's sort of in a way business as usual in terms of the content and the structure of the sessions and what individuals are getting out of it. That's really good to hear. Was there a point, I mean, when we did lockdown, which is a good couple of months ago now, did you just think, because I did, well, that's it, there's no way I can do this in any other way than face to face? What were your initial thoughts? Because I had a week of sort of existential woe, let's say.
Actually, so interestingly, the after school classes, I immediately thought, right, we're doing them online, that's what's going to happen. And that was like a complete knee-jerk, and I think we probably started the first week of lockdown, so we didn't miss missed a week. We missed the one before when the schools got closed at the end of the week and cancelled the session.
That's a rejig.
But then we just started them. But all the rest of the work, like I thought I won't do an adult class, or like I work kind of groups of adults with complex needs, and I thought I won't do them online. I'm now planning how to do them online, and it's going to take a wee while. And then some of the kids I work with at school as well, that's taken a bit longer and it's a wee bit more complicated, but we're trying to deliver almost everything that we used to do, but remotely for now.
Yeah, absolutely. And another point I was thinking about, well, I think about it quite often actually, is I was wondering if the reason why the online sessions are working with the people that it's working for is because in a way they are so-called easy to reach. And would it be different with the so-called hard to reach individual? What are your thoughts on that?
I guess I'm not quite sure, because we work with people who aren't traditionally easy to reach. And yes, we know them really well, so that makes it easier to work with them.
The trust relationships are already there.
So what I don't know, and I will find out because I'm running a summer school, is how to start a relationship online. And it's going to be a learning curve for me because I haven't done it. But I think without that mutual trust, it would have been more difficult. But I guess it's going to have to be a way of figuring out how to get that mutual trust, but doing it
absolutely
in this
do it online. I think the key to that is to be as person-centered as you possibly can, and to do that, you need to glean information about the individual from the surrounding family or surrounding care workers and so on, and try and what I would do is try and engineer the initial session so that as much as what the individual is interested in is included in the session. So, for example, if I find out that a child I'm going to work with is obsessed with ambulances, then I would buy a toy ambulance and perhaps write a little song about an ambulance and have that as an opening song, just to sort of meet the individual where their interests lie. That's my own technique, is to find out what makes them tick and go to them, rather than having them come to me, because I understand that with the complex needs, that's going to be difficult in a lot of cases.
Yeah, and I mean that's the whole core of how we work. Like, it's meeting someone where they're at. I mean, I spent the full 20 minutes singing about washing machines today, so and doing washing machine impressions.
What advice would you have for anyone who does similar work to us, who perhaps hasn't taken their work online because they're worried about whether or not it would work? What sort of practical tips might you wish to impart to help someone?
I mean, I'd say consistency is important. So if you've been working with them before, then don't change anything. Don't change yourself. Don't change your content. And probably for the first few weeks, I didn't push anybody to do anything new. And some people wanted to, and that was fine. But I kept things kind of below people's levels. I was not doing any pushing. We were just getting used to this new platform. And I think we're almost at a stage, I guess, I mean, this is what, week 10.
God, is it really?
Yeah,
it is, isn't it?
We're probably ready to kind of start trying to push things and start trying to do new things. And communicate with the family as much as possible, or like whoever is working with the person you're going to be working with. That's something I found. I've got a lot more interaction than I usually would with families, which is actually really nice.
Right.
And
that's really positive to hear. Yeah, I totally agree. It's all about just keeping the continuity and not really changing anything. I continue, and maybe this is very important, especially given the circumstances. I'm trying to really monitor my sessions. I have a way of making notes on sessions as well. I have my own markers for which determine, at least in my own mind, if a session has been successful, if progress has been made, if fun has been had. So I'm making sure I'm making those kinds of notes and recording the data. For example, the level of participation, whether or not they're refusing, resisting to, or accepting musical instruments that they have in their environment, and also the things I'm doing. Making notes on their communication, if they're conveying their preferences, their desires, their ideas, and expressing themselves creatively. Making notes on their mood, really trying to be on the ball as to where the individual is on a week-to-week basis, so I don't lose them, because I think that's easy to do with this strange way of working. So that's one practical thing I'm doing. And also another thing, if obviously you can get permission to film the session, not necessarily record the actual Skype thing or whatever you're using, but for example, I set up a camera behind like the camera that I'm using to do the session on, so I could look back really at myself to see how I'm presenting, to see if I'm scrabbling around trying to find shakers and drums and electronics and that kind of thing, to make sure that my communication is simple, open, easy to understand, not too complex, to make sure that I'm looking at the camera, not the image of the person on the screen, because then the eye contact isn't there.
That's a hard one.
It is a hard one, yeah. Again, I was speaking to Tom from Electric Umbrella, and he mentioned that there was a post on it actually from Dave Hewitt on the Intensive Interaction Facebook page, where he was talking about it, and I thought, God, that is so important, because the eye contact is the thing that goes first, isn't it, in this online environment. So yeah, monitoring, recording the sessions has been pretty invaluable to me personally. I'd recommend anyone who is going online to do this to do that. And also, where are we at? Ooh, 23 minutes. Doesn't time fly when you're having fun? Practical, like creative tips for people at home who are bored in lockdown. What sort of musical stuff do you have that might help pass the time for people in lockdown at home at the moment, or people shielding as well?
So I guess because we use this figure notes notation system, they've been brilliant at putting out lots of material just now. It's run by Drake Music Scotland. Like you can get to it through their website. And yeah, a lot of our participants have spent a lot more time playing music at home than they would have not in lockdown, and that's a really nice thing. And some are kind of playing with their siblings and doing kind of more interacting with their siblings because of that, and that's absolutely lovely. There's a whole wealth of material out there, and I think you've kind of got to sift through it and find what works for you. We're putting out YouTube clips in the kind of knowledge that there's so much out there, but for the participants who know us, it's nice to see somebody familiar on the screen. So I think working with what you know is pretty important.
And that community is so important as well, just maintaining that community.
Still kind of feeling part of something altogether.
Yeah, great. That's really great. I agree with all those sentiments. And thanks very much for having this conversation with me. I'm trying to keep the videos to around 25 minutes just to benefit anyone who's going to be clicking on this and looking. It's been really insightful. Thank you very much for taking the time to talk with me.
Thanks for doing this. It's a great idea. It's good to kind of put things out there and all be talking. I think everybody should be talking about what's just now.
I think discussion and dialogue and finding out how people are doing, is really important to have that community of practice, and just sort of checking in with one another every now and again to see how things are going, and hopefully we can just get back to normal as soon as it's safe and necessary. I look forward to those times.
Yeah, definitely. But there's a lot we can learn from this time as well, so it'll be nice to put the learnings into practice in a different way.
Exactly. Yeah, totally. Yeah. To see how things will change for us when we do get back to whatever normal will be.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Cool. Well, thanks very much, Emily. It's been lovely to chat.
Thank you.
We'll speak again soon. We'll stay in touch.
You too. Thanks very much.
Thanks very much, Emily. Take care of yourself. Bye. See ya. Bye.